54% of American workers say they want to leave their job. That's more than half the workforce sitting in meetings, nodding, quietly calculating how many more Mondays they can survive. And their bosses know, not because they care, because the system they operate inside was specifically designed to make sure you stay, whether you want to or not. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is just HR policy with better branding. Most people think they stay at a job because of the salary. Comfortable commute, nice coworkers, the free coffee that's not even that good, but somehow still factors into the decision. But the real mechanism is invisible until you try to leave. And the moment you try to leave, every single financial structure in your life pulls you back, like a bungee cord with a mortgage attached. There are 4 of them. 4 systems, each one designed not to punish you, but to make leaving feel slightly more impossible than staying. And the brutal part? You signed up for all of them, voluntarily, while smiling. 4 systems, all of them polite, none of them optional. The first one is the one nobody thinks about until they're already trapped inside it. In almost every developed country on the planet, health insurance is a public utility, like water, like roads. It just exists. In America, it is a benefit, a perk, something your employer gives you, and more importantly, takes away the moment you stop working for them. Think about what that actually means. The average employer-sponsored health insurance plan covers about $23,000 in annual premiums for a family of 4. The employee pays maybe $6,000 or $7,000 of that. The employer covers the rest. So the moment you quit, that $16,000 subsidy disappears overnight. You're now shopping on the open market for insurance that costs more, covers less, and has a deductible high enough to make you reconsider whether that chest pain is really worth a doctor's visit. Spoiler, it usually is, but you'll wait a week to be sure. This isn't an accident. The US is one of the only countries in the world that ties health coverage to employment. It was a quirk of World War II wage freezes. Employers couldn't raise salaries, so they started offering benefits instead. That temporary workaround became permanent, and it has been keeping people in jobs they hate for 80 years. Your boss doesn't need to threaten you. He just needs to make sure the alternative is terrifying enough. Healthcare does that job for him. But that's just chain 1. Chain 2 is quieter, more patient, and honestly, more effective. Quick interruption. If you are currently doing math on your own situation in your head, that is the entire point of this channel. Subscribe if you want more of this. The button is right there. I'm not going to make a whole production out of asking. Like the video too if you want. The algorithm apparently requires it. I don't build these systems. I just exist inside them. Okay, back to the chains. When you join a company that offers a 401k match, they will tell you, with genuine enthusiasm, that they're contributing to your retirement. What they don't say loudly is, only if you stay long enough to earn it. This is called vesting, and the most common structure is a 4-year cliff vest, meaning the employer contributions to your retirement account technically belong to them until you've worked there for 4 years. Then they belong to you. Leave at year 3, you walk out with your contributions. Their contributions stay. You built their company for 3 years and left a chunk of your retirement on the table. Some companies do it on a graded schedule, 20% vests each year. Some do 2-year cliffs. The details vary. The principle doesn't. The average American changes jobs every 4.2 years, which means a significant portion of the workforce is perpetually just inside or just outside a vesting window, making a quiet financial calculation every single time they update their resume. Your employer knows exactly where you are in that cycle. They have software for it. Of course they do. So when your boss gives you a slightly above average performance review in year 3, ask yourself, was that about your performance? Or was it about keeping you calm for 12 more months? I'm not saying it's sinister. I'm saying it's structural. The incentives are designed so your employer benefits from your inertia. And inertia is a very powerful force when it's wearing a matching contribution. Chain 3 is the one that sounds the most harmless. That's exactly why it works. You have, let's say, 18 days of paid time off sitting in your account right now. Depending on your state, your company may not be required to pay that out when you leave. Your employee handbook has a section on this that you have never read. So 18 days at your salary, call it $3,500, gone, just because you left in October instead of December. And so the math starts. I'll use the PTO first. Take the vacation, time it right, which means another quarter, another performance cycle, another January where you're definitely going to start looking. This one isn't the biggest chain financially, but it is the most embarrassing one because it works on people who absolutely know better. Smart people, people who understand sunk cost fallacy in theory, people who have explained sunk cost fallacy to other people. Still staying for the PTO though, because it doesn't feel like a logical trap. It feels like leaving money you already earned, which is exactly why it works. Combine that with the vesting cliff and the health insurance math, and suddenly, I'll start looking seriously in January becomes a sentence people say for 4 consecutive Januaries. I know someone who said it for 6. Different reasons each time, same result. Still there. We talked in a previous video about the high-income poverty trap, how a higher salary can actually reduce your options, not expand them. This is the same mechanism. The more you accumulate inside a job, the more expensive it becomes to leave it. But here's what I didn't expect when I started looking into this. The fourth chain isn't financial at all, and it might be the most powerful one. There's a version of this conversation that's purely about money. Benefits, vesting, PTO. Clean, calculable, fixable in theory. And then there's the part that's harder to talk about. The part that lives in your head, not your pay stub. Seniority. After 4 years at a company, you know how everything works. You know which processes are broken and which ones just look broken. You know who actually makes decisions versus who just schedules the meetings. You know the shortcuts, the workarounds, the names. You are competent, specifically in this exact environment. Starting somewhere new means starting from zero on all of that. New systems, new politics, new unwritten rules. A 6-month period where you will be, regardless of your actual skill level, slightly less effective than you were at the place you left. And most people are not prepared for that feeling. Because it's not imposter syndrome exactly. It's real. You will actually be less effective for a while. The brain registers that as danger. Stay put. This is survivable. Out there is uncertain. Companies don't manufacture this feeling, but they absolutely depend on it. Your hesitation is worth more to your employer than your last raise. So who's actually keeping you there? Is it your boss? The HR department? The benefits package? No. By year 4, the most effective retention tool your employer has is you. Your familiarity, your comfort, your very reasonable reluctance to blow up something that mostly works for something that might be better. The system doesn't need to threaten you. It just needs to make leaving feel slightly harder than staying, every single day, until staying becomes the default. That's not loyalty. That's inertia with a dental plan. And then there's what happens when you finally do the math. Take your current salary. Now calculate what a 10% raise would mean annually. For someone making $70,000, that's $7,000 a year. $35,000 over 5 years before investment returns. The research on this is consistent and fairly brutal. Employees who switch jobs every 2 to 3 years earn significantly more over their careers than those who stay put. One analysis put the gap at 30 to 50% more in lifetime earnings over 20 years. 30 to 50%. That's not a rounding error. That's a second income. That's a paid-off car. That's the difference between retiring at 62 and retiring at 62 while actually having money. Your boss knows this number. HR definitely knows this number. And the raise they handed you last year, the 3% cost of living adjustment that felt almost generous, was calculated to keep you just comfortable enough to not do this math out loud. Not to grow your wealth, to manage your inertia. 3% is a retention tool wearing a bow. The market would pay you 10. The decade between those two numbers, compounded, that's what staying quietly costs. So let me ask you directly, when was the last time you actually calculated what you're worth on the open market? Not what you think you'd get, what you'd actually get, with an updated resume and 3 conversations. Most people haven't done this in years. That number, the gap between what you're making and what the market would pay, that's the price of the chains. None of this means your job is bad. Some jobs are genuinely worth staying at. Some employers are decent. Some benefits packages are actually good deals. This isn't a resignation letter I'm writing for you. But there is one thing, one specific thing, that separates people who get trapped inside these systems from people who don't. It's not courage, it's not ambition, it's just information. Most people have never actually calculated what leaving would cost them. Not vaguely, specifically. What's your vesting date? What does COBRA run in your state? How many PTO days pay out? What does your role actually pay at other companies right now? Not 2 years ago, now. That's it. That's the whole thing. Because the moment you have those numbers, staying stops being a feeling and starts being a decision. And decisions can be revisited. Feelings just quietly renew every year. Your employer is not sitting in a boardroom scheming against you specifically. They don't need to. They just built a system that benefits from your uncertainty. And uncertainty is very easy to maintain when nobody ever asks you to look directly at the cost. You just looked. That's, genuinely, more than most people do. This is Breaking Money. See you in the next one.